I want to dig in first to game one before we turn our sights to game two. And I guess we're the potential of a lineup change with Mark Jankowski being questionable, I guess, game time decision, Rod Brind'amour said yesterday. But I keep hearing about Washington will play better. We'll get a better version of the Capitals in game two. I assume we will. But couldn't we also get a better version of the Hurricanes?
You definitely could. And I agree with all those statements because Washington will be better, especially to start this game tonight. But the Hurricanes can be better. And where they can be better is in a couple areas. One, if the puck starts going in the back of the net, not many teams hit 5 posts in a game. So continuing to get shot volume, if those pucks start going in, the Canes are better. And then the one area that I'll be critical on would be the power play out of game one. In my mind, needs to be better tonight because I think that is where you can sting the Caps early on. Because when teams talk about, we're going to come out, we're going to be better, sometimes they overstep, and we know the Capitals on how they like to play. Do they take an early penalty that the Canes power play can capitalize on?
Yeah, I just put it as simple as this. I mean, for all the puck possession Carolina had in game one, I know what the natural stat trick numbers say in terms of scoring chances and high danger chances. I didn't see Logan Thompson have to make any spectacular saves. So, I mean, I think Freddie Anderson made the 2 best saves of the game, and he saw 14 shots all night. So I just think Carolina can be, we use this term in soccer, more clinical in front of goal. I just think that there is another level for them to get to offensively.
Yeah, and I think that's the other area that I'm going to look at because the Hurricanes are going to continue to shoot. Everyone talks about, why are they shooting so much? Let's pass it around a little bit more. But the shot volume needs to be there. But I agree with you, Adam, that the traffic around Logan Thompson making it a much more difficult night for him when it comes to not only making first saves, but if he makes the first saves, he's only made it because he's in the right position. He hasn't controlled the rebound.
Yep.
And the Hurricanes capitalize on those type of goals in this game tonight.
And isn't that by design, Carolina's offense works? Why they shoot from all angles and fling pucks on net, which apparently annoyed the ESPN broadcast on Tuesday night, was that when you do that and you have traffic, A, you might get a deflection, but B, it's supposed to create rebound opportunities for guys to get to the front of the net and score.
It definitely does create those things, Adam. The other part that people don't, I guess, analyze the right way and what they see is the more you continue to shoot, now the defensive structure is running around, right? They're chasing pucks, it's ricocheting off, and the Hurricanes are a much faster team in my mind than the Capitals. So they're retrieving those pucks, they're getting to the top, they're shooting again. And if you watch the chaos that creates in a defensive structure, you saw it in game one where the Capitals are running around when they don't get the shots blocked. Now, that turns into where all of a sudden now you make a pass into the slot where Mike Kelly reported after the game in his stat sheets that the Hurricanes had more slot shots than the Capitals, 7-6.
Yeah.
So to say they're wasting things is ridiculous in my mind because you're creating breakdowns in the Capital system when guys are chasing the puck and those loose pucks that the Hurricanes in game one continue to come up with.
Shane Willis is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. What did you think of the Aho, Svechnikov, Blake line in the game?
I thought they were very good. And I think if one of those shots that Andre unleashes early in the game goes in, that line has a huge night. And, you have to look at the other factor is the Caps are getting the matchup they want. And Aho, Svechnikov, and Blake were continuing to get chances 5-on-5. And I love the way Andre was shooting. That's something Tripp and I talked about late in the season where it looked like he started to find that, quiet confidence again, the way he was shooting the puck. And it wasn't that he beat him twice off of a tip or, he got a piece of it. Those two that went off the crossbar, he had no chance.
Yeah.
And so just turn the scope down just a hair, Andre, and it will go bar and in. But I like that line. I like what they did all night long.
Yeah, it's funny. I've talked about this about Andre for a while. And everybody, look, when you score 3 times in a game, you get a hat trick. When you get they're going to rename it. I think I've heard the NHL is going to start calling it a Mikko Rantanen. When you get a hat trick in a game, everybody points to that. But I kept saying, if you look at those 3 goals, you could say that there were plays made on the goals that were better than the goals. But Andre played well outside of the goals. I thought he played better in Game 5 than he did in Game 4. He only had 1 goal. I thought he was excellent in Game 1 without hitting the score sheet at all. So I just think that, to me, with Andre, if the process is right, I think enough production will be there. And I think Aho was just spectacular defensively. You didn't even hear the name Pierre-Luc Dubois at all, except when he was hitting one off the crossbar off a broken play.
It is a tremendous point, Adam, by you that the focus shouldn't always only be on the score sheet and in the goals column and in the assist column, because all the things you just mentioned that line did defensively were a huge part in the win for the Carolina Hurricanes. We're holding the Caps to 5 shots in the first period and 3 in the third. 3 in the third. Every one of those lines, and you go from top to bottom through all 4, we're doing things the right way. And if you go back and look at the 1 goal, and it's not a glaring mistake, it's just a mistake that happens in the game. Shane Gostisbehere steps up in the neutral zone. And for the one time, and I really think it was only one time, that the Hurricanes forward wasn't over the top of the Caps player, they get a 2-on-1 and Protas scores. But that was the one breakdown that in games, it's who makes more mistakes. And the Hurricanes were so dialed in defensively, especially in the first and in the third, of being in the right position, Andre, Sebastian included in that. The big guns for the Capitals couldn't do anything. And you could see Alex Ovechkin was searching for answers in that game when he could only get 1 shot. He decided to start running around trying to play physical, energize the team and the crowd. But holding him to 1 shot, Strome has 1 shot. The guy who has the most shots in their team was a rookie.
Yeah.
With 3.
And he's going to be a healthy scratch tonight.
And Dubois had 0.
Right.
So the Hurricanes winning a 2-game, everyone's fine with that because it wasn't a highly tested game for Freddie Anderson, and the Hurricanes played so well defensively.
Yeah, and look, what was your view of the goal that Anderson allowed? Was that one he should have had? Because I kind of thought it was just a great shot.
Phenomenal shot. That is and someone texted me, I'm not going to use this because it wasn't my line, but they're like, that is the long-armed, left-handed shot. Think about Eric Stahl. Think about Jordan Stahl. Jordan Stahl a couple years ago on the island, overtime winner. Do you remember that one, Adam? Far side,
yes,
just over the pad. That is a perfect shot because when you look at it, it goes over Freddie's pad and it's away from his blocker. It is right inside the post, and players work on that practice. That is a tough spot to hit, and the guys who have a little bit of a reach advantage, like Protas does, he's a giant out there.
Yeah.
It was a perfect shot because Freddie, people, if you're going to blame Freddie on that goal, you're going to say, well, he was too deep. He wasn't. He was outside the top of his crease, in the right position. I give Protas the nod at a perfectly placed shot that beats a goaltender that's in the right position.
Shane Willis, you can watch him on WRAL TV5 tonight after the game. And
11:20, I'll be there, Adam.
And go right from there. At 11:20?
Yeah.
Well, if we don't have overtime, that'll be after the podcast is over, so that's fine too.
There you go. They can get the best of all worlds. The game, you, and then us on WRL.
I'll give you a shout-out during the podcast tonight, unless we have overtime.
All right. We appreciate it.
Thanks, man.